All right, welcome back to Basics on Bass. Burl here with the beard of believability. The well-trimmed beard of believability, because the ragged beard of believability makes the wife angry. The wife is with Burl more than the beard of believability is with Burl. But here we go. Anyway, moving on. Again, here we are on Basics on Bass, lesson 3. What we're trying to do here is these lessons are designed for people who are just starting out on the bass, or maybe they want to go ahead and refine their technique a little bit. Like, oh God, I'm really having a problem keeping my bass in tune, or I don't know what to do with my right hand, it's getting cramped. What we're going to try to do is just, as we explained in the very beginning, only one concept per lesson, so it's very easy to go back and work on individual concepts. Today, we're going to work on our right hand technique. But like we said last time, the key thing is we always want to make sure our bass is in tune. So before the lesson actually started, I went ahead and tuned up my bass with my clip-on tuner. And again, that was probably what I said last time was the best way of making sure you're in tune. So I'm in tune, ready to rock and roll. So let's go ahead with the lesson on our right hand. The number one thing about our right hand is we want to be relaxed. It doesn't sound like a big deal until you play for a couple hours. And if you'll notice, my arm here, this muscle right here, my forearm muscle, that's why you see drummers have huge forearms or guitar players have big forearms. That muscle is going to get a lot of use. And if you're playing and you're cramped up and you're in some oddball position and you got a lot of tension going on, that muscle is going to get sore. I was learning how to play guitar a couple of years ago, and I was taking an online course at Berkeley. And I have very poor picking technique because I'm a bass player, not a guitar player. And this arm would get so sore and so tired. So what we want to do when we're working with our right hand is we want to relax. We're going to try to keep our arm from the elbow on down straight and relaxed. You can see I'm taking my hand with my elbow, I'm resting it on my bass. Because I'm sitting down, that's an easy thing to do. When we're standing up, we might have to reposition our bass a little bit, work with your strap, and we'll go through some techniques on that later on. We just want to make sure, I can't say it as many times as I should, you need to be relaxed. So when I'm playing, you can see me like this, my hand is essentially hanging down, my elbow or my forearm is resting on my bass. I'm pretty relaxed. I could play this for a number of hours. We rehearse typically from 2 to 3 hours. I'm fine at the end of that because I have a very relaxed, very practiced technique. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to work on our right hand. The main two fingers we're going to be using are our index finger and our middle finger. See, there'll be some techniques where we're going to need all 3 fingers, but probably 99.9% of the time is going to be these 2 fingers working in unison with each other. I want to show you very quickly a technique on the bass. What you do with your thumb really doesn't matter. You'll see some bass players like, oh, you got to rest your finger here. Oh, you got to rest your finger here. Some basses even have a thumb rest right here. Some people rest it on the pickup. Some people rest it on the pickguard. It does not matter. What you're going to see with me is when I'm on the upper strings, the D and the G string, you're going to see my thumb resting on the E down here. When I'm moving down to the E and the A string, you're going to see my thumb sometimes move to the pickup. I have different basses that have different pickups. Some are in positions that I like to rest my thumb, some aren't. So some basses I'm going to be down here resting on the pick guard. What you don't want to do if you can is have your thumb floating out here in the air somewhere. Why? Because that's going to cause tension in your arm. It's not a relaxed thing. I know it's hard to see here. We don't have the world's best graphics, but if I raise my thumb, do it on your own, pick your thumb up, you're going to feel this muscle in your forearm tightening. And that's what we don't want. We want that muscle nice and loose. So again, doesn't really matter where we rest our thumb. I'm going to rest my thumb on the pickup right now just for giggles because we can. Let's work a little bit on, we're going to do our things all on open strings on the D string. With our fingers, you essentially want to drag your finger across the string. All you're trying to do to get sound is make that string vibrate. You don't have to pluck the string like that. It's not an upright bass. You're not doing a plucking sound. What you're doing, you're basically pushing on the string almost by dragging your finger across the string to get it to vibrate. That's all you got to do. If you're digging your finger in way like that, you're going to lose a ton of technique. You're not going to be able to do fast things. You're not really going to be a very good player. So you need to relax. Again, it's probably from about, between halfway between the knuckle all the way up to the tip. It's going to be about in there. It's called your pad. You don't want to be on your fingertips like this because you're going to get horrible technique and you're going to miss the string half the time. So we want to be down about halfway. And again, we're going to be alternating between our index finger and our middle finger. Okay, let's talk about a couple things in the bass. With the bass, we really have 4 types of notes that we're going to play. Everything else is essentially a variation of these 4 notes. The 4 notes you're going to play are a quarter note, which is 1 note per beat. So if my beat, I'll get my metronome going in a minute. The beat is going to be 1 note per beat. Bum, bum, bum. That's a quarter note. Sometimes you see me alternating, sometimes I'm doing one finger. A lot of it's going to depend on the song you're playing and the feel you're looking for. But again, we're going to try to alternate our fingers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, just staying on there with a quarter note. So let's go ahead and set our metronome. You can get a metronome app on your phone, whatever you tend to use. I just have to have my laptop here. I'm going to set my metronome for 70 beats per minute. It doesn't matter. What you need to set it for, you need to be able to do it perfectly. So that if that means setting your metronome at 40, so you get good technique and you get perfect sound, that's what it needs to be at. We're going to set it at 70. 2, 3, 4. That's a quarter note. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get an even sound. I've been playing for a lot of years, and I've been playing where you have an emphasis on the 2 and the 4. So a lot of times I'm 1, 2, 3, 4. Some songs you want to emphasize on the 1 and the 3, but for right now, let's try to keep them even. Just a nice, slow, steady, even sound on the strings is what we're looking for. That's our quarter note. The next thing we're going to practice is an 8th note. And again, just for simplicity, we're going to be staying on one string. Once you get really, really good on one string, then we can try moving across strings and doing all sorts of craziness. But to get your basic technique down, which you absolutely wanted, that's what these lessons are for, is for your basics. We're going to stay on one string. So an 8th note is 2 notes per beat. So one note is on the downbeat, and if you can see my foot, the other note is on the upbeat. I have my lovely house Crocs on, so yes, Burl wears Crocs for doing Burl on bass. Apologies. All right, so again, when we practice, let's practice with our metronome. So we set our metronome for 70 beats per minute. 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So hopefully on that you could really feel one of the notes was on the downbeat. When that metronome clicked, that's the downbeat. And I hope we were getting that. So hope you heard downbeat, upbeat, downbeat, upbeat. When you hear people kind of singing it or giving you phrasing to practice with, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. One of the notes being when you're counting, the other note being on the and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s are the downbeats. The ands are on the upbeat. That's an 8th note. The next thing we're going to do, shockingly we did 1 note per beat quarter note, 2 notes per beat 8th note. Any guesses out there what the next one's going to be? What? I don't hear anybody. What? Oh, that's right. This is online. Never mind. I knew that. Just testing y'all. The next one's going to be a triplet. And shockingly, what's that going to be? That's going to be 3 notes per beat. When you hear people talking about triplet, you hear them say triplet, 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 triplet. Again, there's always going to be 1 on the downbeat. And the other 2 are going to kind of be mixed in there. It's actually going to be a third of a beat. It sounds weird. It sounds really complex. But if you do that triplet, dun, 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 it's just going to be practice. And once you practice it for a number of years, it's actually going to be really easy. You'll use triplets a lot if you're in 6/8 time. We'll get to that at a much later time. Let's set our metronome again for 70. And if you need to set it lower, set it lower. Set it slower. 2, 3, 4. Triplet, 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 trip. Sorry, I messed up a little bit there in the beginning. I was trying to hear my metronome and record and too many things at the same time. Again, you got to get that metronome key though. It's got to be a steady pattern. It's got to be triplet, 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 triplet. So it's got to be slow and steady, 3 notes for every beat. And again, when you sing it, it's triplet, triplet, triplet. The last one we're going to work on is 16th notes. And 16th notes are going to be, how many? 4. 4 notes to the beat. When people sing it or they're trying to teach you, it's 1 E and a. 1 E and a. We talked about the downbeat and the upbeat. 1 E and a. 1 E and a. And again, you kind of just got to work on it and you got to get a feel for it. But when you're setting your metronome and you're playing for the first time and you're working on these, set it slow and make it perfect. Once it's perfect at 60 beats per minute, you can move it up to 65. Once it's perfect at 65, move it to 70. I'm going to start off at 70, and I'll try my best to keep it slow and steady. Too many things going on here. 2, 3, 4. And I hope you could really feel that on the downbeat. When I'm doing the 1 E and it's 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4. If you put just a little bit of emphasis on that downbeat note, that will help you keep time with your metronome. And again, if you mess it up, that is totally fine. There's kind of a thing I've learned in life after all these years that people are like, gosh, how did you learn that? I said, you know how I learned this? Because I screwed it up the first time. And that's really true. For the most part, the things I have learned is because I messed them up the first time. So that's all that there is with our right hand. There's going to be all sorts of craziness, you know, when we're going around and moving between strings and doing this and that. But you really, if you can work on those 4 notes, the quarter note, the 8th note, the triplet, and then the 16th note. And if you have to sing it to yourself, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, that's okay. As you can see, I don't sing very well, but I don't really care. Or triplet, 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 trip. Or if you're doing 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 5. So that's all you're going to do. When we move on, we're going to be going across strings, moving on the strings and doing different things. But if you can just work on those notes on 1 string, then maybe 2 strings, and then maybe alternating until you're getting to like a walking pattern of it's all going to become really easy, and it's going to be nothing other than practice. If you don't have it right the first time, totally 100% fine. That's what we're here for, is to teach you the basics. And if we get you the basics, and if you have the beard of believability, that will help you too. Thanks again for tuning in, and I hope to have another lesson up in about a week. But that was Burl on bass, teaching you about your right hand playing the bass. Take care and have a great day.